My name is Wanda Bolger Thames. I work at New Mexico State University, and we have a newly inaugurated grant called the New Mexico STEM Innovation Network. And so we're excited to get this started. And the first thing we're doing is thinking about these mini grants so we can distribute funds to support innovative practices across the state. So welcome, everybody. My name is Wanda. I have two partners in crime here. Erika, do you want to introduce?
Hello, everyone. Erika Acosta. It's really nice having you all here. And can I introduce our other, colleague, Pat?
Hi, everyone. Pat Carton. Actually work at through New Mexico State, but I'm outside of Albuquerque. And exciting to share this opportunity and also get you guys signed up for a mailing list because we have lots of other activities that I've been working on today. So we're excited to have you here. And what a great place to be with representation around the state. So thank you for giving us your time this afternoon.
Thank you. And thank you for being interested in the mini grant and STEM innovation. So I'm going to back up just a little bit because you're going to see that we're using the Zia symbol, and we do that really humbly and with grateful hearts because we appreciate the contribution that the Zuni tribe made to New Mexico with the Zia symbol. I'm going to move forward. Let's see, and we'll keep putting the link in to sign up if to get you signed up for this meeting. We want to just to know who is applying or considering applying from around the state, and also you'll get a chance to click if you want to be on a mailing list so we can send out more information as things come up. Today's agenda, we're going to spend a little time in the RFP and a chance to open up the link and read the RFP if you haven't. We'll have 7 minutes to do that, and we're going to go over the key components of what is the network and what is this application that we have out for our residents of New Mexico. And then we're going to have a little bit of time, hopefully, for sharing some of your ideas, like what are you thinking about, and hearing some ideas from others, and Q&A for any specific questions you have about your program. Does that sound okay?
Also, one thing, Erika and I have a good eye on the chat. So as we go through this, we'll use the chat as a parking lot, and you can drop your questions in there and we'll bring them up as we go. So please feel free to use the chat also as a parking lot for questions.
So thank you, Pat. We're going to spend a little bit of time just getting into the RFP, and Erika is going to put the link into the chat, and we're just going to take 7 minutes. I'm going to time it. And so we'll be back at 3:42. If you already read the RFP and say, I know, then think about your questions and feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll try to answer those questions while we're going through the little presentation. But otherwise, we want to give you a little time to just get familiar with what is this application process. Thank you, everybody, for taking a few minutes to read over the application or gather your questions as you're thinking about it. We're going to do our best to get through the questions you have. It gives us an idea of kind of where your minds are. If we don't get to them all, feel free to raise your hand and say, hey, you didn't answer this question. So, but we will do our best. Before we get into the application, I just want to give a slight little background on where this innovation network has come from. It started with a group, Society of Women Engineers. So normal citizens who were really curious about how to support New Mexico or build up STEM learning for students. And what they noticed is that New Mexico kept ranking low on different academic achievements, particularly in STEM. And they said, you know, this isn't right. We have brilliant students. Why is this happening? So if you ever wonder if a few citizens can make a big difference, they can. So in this case, there was Jan Williams and Fran Stewart, were retired engineers who would go to the legislature and just make a lot of noise saying, we need some funding to support a network so that the groups that are doing this work across the state can have a mechanism to work together. And so the spirit of the network is really thinking about working together. How is this funded? So we received $3 million from the legislature. So know that. that $3 million goes from the state legislature to the NMPED. And then the PED creates a scope of work. And the scope of work is really tied to the priorities of the PED. And so when we talk about PED priorities, New Mexico Public Education Department priorities, it's because they are like who we directly report to. But the PED created the principal hub, which is at NMSU. And eventually, by the end of this year, we're hoping we're going to have other hubs set up across the region. So the money is not intended to stay at New Mexico State University. The funding is intended to be distributed across the state to support schools across the state around our 3 priorities, which we'll talk about. We serve local education agencies, tribal communities, Bay e-schools, out of school time partners. So there are groups around the state that like to provide STEM-based out of school time learning through summer camps or after school programs. We can support them as well. And also a nice tie to industry. What we know from Workforce Solutions data is that about 1/3 of the jobs in New Mexico around STEM are not filled. They go unfilled because we don't have the workforce to fill them. And we know we also have brilliant students in New Mexico who are graduating or maybe not graduating who need a career path, right? They need a place to go to have a fulfilling job that is meaningful to them. And so the network is really intended to bridge the gap and help create pathways, career pathways from K-12 to industry. And so it's bringing good people like you who are doing this work and thinking about how we work together. So that really is kind of the STEM network in the nutshell. You're probably wondering like, okay, well, we can apply for $5,000 to $20,000. There's about $250,000 set aside for the mini grants. And then the funding after that will be distributed across the state through regional networks. So there may be other opportunities to apply for money once those regional networks are set up. So that's kind of the STEM Innovation Network in a very small nutshell. We ask you like if we have any listening sessions or gathering information sessions across the regions, we would very much encourage you to participate in those meetings. So I said we were funded by the PED. The money flows through the PED. And so we are kind of beholden to the PED's priorities. And so, but we have three main missions. So that's not going to change from the STEM Innovation Network. And it's improving STEM learning K through 12 in the regular day classroom. And we call that inquiry-based learning. We believe that learning should be hands-on. It should be kids thinking hard about important concepts in STEM and them them really developing an understanding of foundational concepts. And this particular year, PED's priority is around focusing math. So when we say we have a math priority, that has to do with tying to the PED's priority for math in improving K-12 learning this year. The second one is the access to out-of-school time STEM enrichment. What we know is when kids are able to join out-of-school time programs, and they could be STEM or they could be other meaningful things. We know we have programs that are gardening, that are artwork, that are robotics, that are coding, there's a whole myriad of things. But this is a place where kids can really play with STEM ideas or play with ideas that they don't have the freedom to do in the regular day. And even teachers, like they're not tied to, the number of minutes you have for reading or for math or for science. And so the out of school time places where we can really think about how to bring to life some of those concepts that we're learning in the regular school day through problem-based learning, through internships, really the possibilities are wide open. But what we know is that the students in the rural areas have a lot less access to out-of-school time opportunities than students, say, in Las Cruces, where I live, or Albuquerque, or in those urban areas. And so we're doing a big push to try to get some of those out-of-school time summer camps, after-school programs, Saturday camps out to the rural areas. And then finally, thinking about the strengthening connections between K-12 education and industry. Like, are we preparing kids in K-12 for the industries that they can go into in New Mexico? And so it's bridging the gap, having conversations between people who are employers here in New Mexico and K-12 education and say, what can we do to make connections so that kids can see a more seamless pathway between K-12 education to a meaningful career. Those are our three main priorities. How do we do this? We have some principles that we are I would say near and dear to our hearts, or just the way we work. And one of those is through building capacity. What we're trying to do is build capacity of our citizenry, of people who are doing the work, professional development providers, teachers, administrators, RECs. Like, how do we build capacity to provide high quality STEM learning for K-12, to provide out of school time access, and to make those connections to industry? There are people around the state who are doing really great work in that area, but it doesn't get to all parts of New Mexico. And so through these regional hubs, our intention is to build capacity of all the regions to be able to support all schools in New Mexico. We also believe in collaborative work. We know that together we're smarter than when we work alone. And so even if we have a brilliant idea, when we go talk to somebody else about this brilliant idea, the idea can get better, and we can have new ideas that we add to our own ways of thinking. And so we ask anybody who's working with us to think about who are the collaborators, who are the people that you can partner with to make this work stronger. And then finally, strengthening identities and readiness. Like we know that STEM identities and even college going identities don't happen just with the student. It's a community identity, or it's a family identity. And so our work is really thinking about how do we build an identity around, we are amazing STEM professionals. We have amazing STEM possibilities here in New Mexico. So building up our identity as a state, as a community, as a family, as a school, and as a student. So those are the pillars that we work under. So the mini grant is our first thing. It's our first launch. Like I said, I can now say we are 2 weeks old. And so if we have something that is not quite worded right, you're going to forgive us and you're going to let us know, and we're going to do our best to make corrections. But what we're looking for in this launch is to begin this work at the local level. Like, we're talking about bringing people together across the state. But that happens first with bringing people together within our community and around the people we know to think about improving STEM education. And so we would ask you to think about, what are some innovative ideas? This isn't meant to do more of the same or to fund a project that didn't get funded. So can we use this money to extend something? It's about creating some new ideas about how do we help students form these STEM identities. How do we provide the resources and the experiences for them so they see themselves potentially in a STEM field?
What do you need?
So who can apply? A lot of people can apply. So it could be K-12 schools, it could be districts, it could be cooperatives.
If he
Tribal
has the
Clique,
documents, I can refax
control
this for him.
schools. Let me see. We've got okay. We've got out of school time providers, and these could be organizations, or maybe you've got an industry that says, hey, I want to host a summer camp for kids, or I want to come into your school and do some robotics work, because we work in a manufacturing facility, and I'm going to teach kids a little something about robotics. Like it doesn't have to be just educators. It could be folks outside of the traditional K-12 community who are working with schools to support STEM learning. For-profit, nonprofit organizations, higher ed institutions, if you have faculty that want to partner with a school or with an industry to think about how to support students, that is awesome. Workforce industry partners. And it could be that schools or organizations don't even know who the industry partners are around their community. And so we could have a mini grant to say, hey, let's do some inviting. Let's bring people in. Let's have our industry come into our school and learn about what our priorities are, or what we're excited about in terms of kids STEM learning. And let's think about how to connect more purposefully with industry in our area. And so professional learning organizations as well. I think pretty much everybody can apply. The idea is you have to be from New Mexico, because we're trying to build up capacity of our New Mexico citizens. So applications need to be submitted by September 11th at 5 o'clock. We would suggest not waiting till the last minute, because there are some forms and you just want to make sure you have access. We have an outside group who will be reviewing applications during this time. And then we're hoping to notify you by the 25th, whoever is funded. And we say, or as soon as possible. Like, we're trying to get the funding out as soon as we can because we want the work to happen during the school year. So mini grants from 5,000 to 20,000, and we have to finish the work by May. We've had questions last time, like, could we do a summer program in June? One of our problems is because we're funded by the PED, we have to have you invoice us, we have to pay you all the funding, and then we get reimbursed by PED, and that all has to happen before the end of June. So we're asking all the projects to finish their projects by May 31st so that you can do final billing with us.
So Wanda, if I could jump in, one of the questions on the chat was whether they could provide, either buy resources or provide professional development to support summer programs. And so in this case, the answer would be yes, if the resources are intended to be used in the summer but are purchased before that May 31st deadline.
That would be okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Erica.
Development as well.
That's a great clarification. And you can purchase things that are used during the year and then in the summer as well. We had a question last time of like, where does the equipment stay? Like it stays with you. Like if you're purchasing items for a school, once the grant is over, they stay with the school. Okay, so your application is 5 pages max. It should be pretty simple. It's you're going to describe the work that you're doing, like kind of just letting us know what's your capacity, that you've done this work somewhere else before and now you want to expand it, or you want to try it in a new place, or you've done some work in science and now you're going to be working a little bit in computer science, but you have some history of being able to partner and work in whatever scope of work that you lay out in your proposal. The program description should outline really specifically how you're addressing one of the 3 priorities of the network, whether it's high quality instruction in K-12, like I could have put K-12 in there, particularly this year, math instruction, how you're establishing or expanding informal STEM out of school time programming or formal programming. I say informal, you could have a curriculum, but it's work outside of the K-12 regular school day, or how you're strengthening connections with industry. Maybe you're exploring internship opportunities or apprenticeship opportunities, inviting industry to be a part of job fairs with you, like thinking about how to strengthen those connections. So okay, and then you're going to talk about the partnerships that you have. Those partnerships don't have to be necessarily a sharing of funding, but it could be who are the people or who are the organizations that are going to help make your plan stronger, because you are working with others, and how are we building a network across the state, starting in the local communities. Finally, you're going to let us know, like, what are the measurable outcomes? Are you hoping to serve 10 teachers in professional learning that are going to support, out of those 10 teachers, 200 students in improving, or in providing an out of school time program, or improving math instruction? But just lay that out specifically for us. And then how are you addressing equity? Like, how are you ensuring that the students who most need the support are getting the support? Any questions about this slide? We can come back to it if you have questions later. Susan, you've got a question, but you're muted.
So when you say measurable, for example, I represent a professional development nonprofit that we've been working on for a long time, but I can only attest to what we offer the teachers. Do you need us to demonstrate what's actually happening in the classroom as a result of the professional development?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of your measurables, maybe you want to work with, I'm going to pick a number, 15 teachers through your project. So you're going to show how are you working with those 15 teachers? What kind of professional learning is provided? What do you hope they learn from that professional development? And then we would hope you would do a survey with them to say, hey, what were the impacts for you in your classroom? we're not going to have the capacity to go into your class, those classrooms, right, and find that out. But the teachers can report. Like teachers are generally pretty upfront about what is useful to them and what they're implementing and what they're not implementing. So that's what we're thinking. We want to be able to
So
report
that
to
kind of a narrative, we're actually thinking about even expecting teachers to teach a mini lesson as a result of what they've experienced, so that we have some examples that are a little more tangible to us to know that we're making a difference, not just what they say on their evals. Would, you know, I'd like to use this. I'd like to see, how are you using this? So
Absolutely.
is that sufficient?
Oh,
Think-
yeah. I mean, maybe they're sending photos in, right? Of the
Yeah.
impact that they're having with kids. They're getting quotes from kids or maybe
Oh.
they're showing some on their assessment scores, they're showing some gains on a short cycle assessment. But yeah, it's like, think about what your goal is. And then how would you measure whether you're getting to that goal? And I love your spirit of that. Like, Susan, you don't want to just do PD, you want it to have an impact. So what are some things that you could gather from the teachers to show that they're implementing?
And did I read that you need a monthly connection with us to know how it's going?
Well, so that's a great question. One of the reasons for monthly is like, we don't want people to wait till the end and report everything because we have to be periodically reporting. And so it's going to depend on your scope of work and your timeline. So we want you to report as things happen with your project. And then also, if you're needing, like if you have some purchases, we want you to go ahead and ask for reimbursement of those right away. And then you'll need a description of what you spent them on and why, so that we can reimburse. And we don't want you to wait till the end of the grant period to do that. We want you to do it periodically. It doesn't have to be monthly, but it has to be not waiting till the end. That makes
Okay,
sense?
okay. So that's
Okay.
important because that's staff intensive. And if you don't have a staff, it's executive director intensive. But the other question, oh wait, it had to do with you said material reimbursement. I think you've answered most of my questions. I'll think
Well,
about
you might, yeah, and let me share a little bit more, and maybe this will help. So, you're going to so the previous slide, these 5 questions we want you to answer in about 3 pages, maybe 3.5 pages, right? It's going to be concise, but let us know the work that you're going to do. Part of the application also asks you to download this table, and we have a place where you can download it. There's a link, and let us know what you're purchasing and why you're purchasing it, right? Because that's going to help us understand your program and how you're spending money. And then, so this is a downloadable thing. If you need to make some minor modifications in the categories, it's fine to do that. For university people, we added that there's an 8% IDC cap. And if you're a university person, you know what that means. But if there's something that we didn't put on this list that needs to be a category, you put that in the other and just let us know what it is. And then we're asking you, this is really important, is a timeline. Like, what is a description of the things you're planning to do over the course of the next 9 months now, I think. And that helps us like understand the sequence of what you're doing. So you're going to have in the narrative what you're doing, but then this timeline is also going to help us say, okay, this is how you're delineating the work over the course of the year. And so this, Susan, will help you with when should you report. Like, and our reporting isn't going to be, I'm going to get to a slide on that because that has been a big question. We just need to know what you're doing so we can report to the PED how this money is being used.
Okay. So are you the fiscal agent or the PED?
We are the fiscal agent for you, and PED is the fiscal agent for us.
Okay.
Mhm. Let's see, the other, so we have a scoring criteria that is in the application as well. And so when you're writing this grant, have your friend read it and say, hey, this is a criteria. Are we hitting all these 5 points? And if not, where might we strengthen it? And then finally, like the reporting requirements, like we want you to share your story. That's the bottom line. We want to know the good work that's happening out there, or we want to know the challenges that are happening. Like Susan, I'm going to use your example now. Like maybe you want teachers to implement and you're finding out they're not being able to implement because they don't have the materials that they need. And so like that's a challenge. And then can we work together to think about that? Or maybe they can't implement because their school curriculum doesn't allow for any extra things to happen, right? And so we want you to share like what are the successes, what are the challenges, because what we want to do is build a network of professionals who are doing this work where we can learn from one another. And so yes, we want to hear the great stories because there are going to be great stories. There are going to be some wonderful things that happen, but we want to hear the things that are hard as well. We're going to ask you to report the number of students you work with or the number of teachers you work with and how many students that might impact. Who are the industry partners, if you have any that you're working with, and how are you hoping to continue a collaboration with them? We're going to ask you if you're working with parents, maybe you're having math nights or family STEM nights. We'll ask you how many parents showed up, and so we're gonna have some pretty simple, I'm gonna say, not time intensive surveys so we can gather information to learn about the work that you're doing. And we're gonna ask that you come together a couple times. And we don't know yet how that's going to happen. Remember, I said we're 2 weeks old, right? We might be inviting you to a regional meeting. We might have a Zoom meeting, but whoever is funded, like we want you to learn from one another and get inspired by the work that other people are doing and learn from the challenges from one another. We really do want to build a network across the state for those of us doing this work. So really that's the flavor of the reporting. And know that we're here to support you. Like we want you to be successful. That's what we want. We're not just a funding agency. Like we are also doing this work with you and we want to support you in this work. And so we know the more that you succeed, the more our state is going to succeed. Let's see. Okay. Any questions about the RFP before we go into a breakout room? We want to do some breakout rooms. Does it feel clear?
Yeah.
Awesome. We tried. Okay, and Erica and Pat, you don't see other questions in the chat that we haven't addressed? Yes, so I'm seeing like, can inquiry-based hands-on nonprofits work during the school year? You can. So here's a little bit of a nudge, like because we're tied to that priority of math, talk in your proposal about how you're applying math learning, right? I mean, if you're doing STEM activities, kids are probably doing some measurement or some critical thinking or some problem solving or some calculating. So think about how kids are applying the mathematics from the regular day into the STEM learning. That's a possibility.
Wanda, one of the things, the great projects we heard out of Ohio was teachers working with industry partners in creating really real life inquiry tasks that teachers were using in their classrooms that were really exciting for us to hear about. And so it kind of helped us think about how to create that fertile ground in New Mexico. So if you're going to do inquiry learning, I would really encourage you to think about, hey, can we bring in some partners from the industry?
I would like to share from experience that if those of you in Albuquerque, if anyone is, Sandia Labs used to have huge education outreach. And I know there are people on their staff who probably still would like to do that. I don't know if the laboratories are giving people time to do that. There was a long time ago when they had what was called SciAds. They were people who came to your school from the lab and offered that kind of a link. But now there's lots more industry. So I think that's a great suggestion.
And Susan, you know what I'm hearing is that industry want to participate. They want to be included in schools, but they don't often know how.
Right.
And so what I'm hearing from people who have been reaching out to industry is that those conversations have been really fruitful and created some new opportunities. So Michelle, did you have a question? Did I interrupt you? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just waiting. What if you have several ideas and I want to bounce them off of you to decide which one to apply for? Can I do that? Because I'm a math major and I love math. And I'm also a master gardener and I'm also a graduate at MSU. So I have so many things I can do with this and I want to bounce some ideas off of you. Can I make an appointment to meet
Well,
you?
we're going to go into some breakout sessions, so we'll bounce some ideas now. But yes,
Okay.
Michelle, and but think about, like, don't go too broad. Like, where can you have an impact? This won't be the last time we have things like this. This is just the first. Like, so think about, like, where are you ready to jump in now?
And
Okay?
also-
All right.
I am there, but I have so many things.
So Michelle, I would encourage you. So this is where we're getting ready to go. Thank you. It's almost like we paid you well to think about. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and I am going to encourage you guys when you go into a breakout room. As you see, we have 3 breakout rooms. One is K-12 learning and math priority, and then the OST. And then the third room is connection to industry. So Michelle, as you go in those rooms, this is where we want to like really start blossoming and collaborating with people and saying, hey, I'm thinking about this. Oh, so am I. And bouncing ideas off. So thank you, Michelle, for leading us into the breakout rooms. You are amazing on that.
Thank you.